Welcome to day 2 of remote learning. This is for Chem 1 students, March 19th, 2020. All right, quick recap. Units are used to modify measurements. So if you want to describe age, it might be 43 years. If you want to describe distance, it might be 15 miles. If you want to describe time, it might be 2 hours. So this is a short list of units. By no means is it complete. First of all, time, the symbol for time is lowercase t. So if you see it in an equation, speed equals distance per time, you would use lowercase t. The unit is the second. You can also use minutes, hours, days, years, etc. The tool obviously is the clock. Length, sometimes called distance, is measured in meters. There are several different symbols we can use. Sometimes it's W for width, sometimes it's H for height. It is a one-dimensional measurement, and the tool would be the ruler, a tape measure, a meter stick, and so forth. Now, the next one is mass. This one's a little bit different. The symbol for mass is lowercase m, and we use the gram primarily in chemistry, but the kilogram is oftentimes acceptable as well. It tells you how much matter something has, as determined by protons and neutrons. It's not the same thing as weight. Mass is the amount of stuff, whereas weight is the effect of gravity. The tool that we use to measure mass is the balance, and the tool that we use to measure weight is the scale. All right, the next one is temperature. Now, this one's a little bit different in that it has several different units. Um, it's the average kinetic energy of moving particles, not the same thing as heat, although it is related. If you want to measure temperature, you're probably going to use a thermometer. The American system uses Fahrenheit scale, the freezing point of water being 32 and the boiling point being 212 on the Fahrenheit scale, which brings us to Celsius. Celsius actually has two different ways of measuring temperature. One is the Celsius scale and one is the Kelvin scale. We'll start with Celsius. Celsius is based on the freezing point and boiling point of water, freezing being 0 and boiling being 100. Then we take that distance and we divide it into 100 equal increments to get degrees. Sometimes it's called the centigrade scale. Now the Kelvin scale, very similar to the Celsius scale, the only major difference being is that the 0 is in a different place. 0 on the Kelvin scale is absolute 0, the coldest temperature possible. So if you take Celsius and you add 273, you basically get to the Kelvin scale. So the freezing point would be 273 Kelvin, and the boiling point of water would be 373 Kelvin. Which leads us to our next equations, and I'll do a few examples for you. If you want to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius, simply put, you take your degrees Fahrenheit. Let's say we're using 10 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to take that number, and we are going to use this equation right here. So 10 degrees minus 32 would give us negative 22. Then we take that value and we divide by 1.8. So 22 divided by 1.8 is 12.2 repeating. So we also have to consider that there is a negative symbol. So if you want to convert 10 degrees Fahrenheit to Celsius, you actually end up with a negative number on top divided by 1.8, which gives us negative 12.2. I'm just going to call it negative 12 degrees Celsius. So that is my first calculation from Fahrenheit to Celsius. Let's do another example real quick. This time, let's go from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So I'm going to pick a temperature 22 degrees Celsius. This might be a comfortable room. And in this case, I am going to use the equation on top. So I've rearranged them for you. So if we're going to want to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit, we're going to say that F equals 1.8, and this time we're going to multiply our temperature. So 22 degrees Celsius times 1.8, and then we're going to add 32 onto the end. Let me get my calculator out. So 1.8 times 22. Remember to do multiplication first and then addition according to the order of operations. And then I'm going to add 32. So 1.8 times 22 plus 32 gets me to 71.6. So 22 degrees Celsius is equal to 71.6. Let's just call it 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, that's my second example. And for my third example, I think I'm going to do a Celsius to Kelvin and Kelvin to Celsius. So if I have a temperature, let's say it's 43 degrees Celsius, and I want to convert that to Kelvin, I am going to use this equation right here. So Kelvin is equal to degrees Celsius plus 273.15. I'm just going to leave the 0.15 off for right now. So 43 plus 273 gives me an answer of 316 Kelvin. Note that when we do Kelvin, we don't actually include the degree symbol. So 43 degrees Celsius is equal to 316 Kelvin. Last example before we go. Let's go from Kelvin to Celsius. This time I'm going to choose 112. We're not going to use a degree symbol, but we're going to convert 112 Kelvin into Celsius. So now we're going to do K minus 273. And I'm going to go ahead and drop the 0.15. So our answer is going to be 112 minus 273. You might notice that this will give you a negative number. So 112 minus 273 equals negative 161 degrees Celsius. So, fun fact, Kelvin cannot have negative numbers. Celsius can, and I believe it's negative 40 is the place on the Fahrenheit and the Celsius scale that are exactly the same. All right, thanks for listening, guys. Check out the Google Classroom. There will be a copy of the notes as well as a short quiz for you guys to take. Thanks and have a great